are basically given privileges and
Mm.
not encouraged, and I'll be nice, encouraged to learn,
Okay.
then they'll grow and then they may not feel the need to learn. And
No.
because somebody's been taking care of them their entire life.
Listen, when you ain't the pretty star no more for whatever reason, that listen, you get dropped like a hot brick, and they ain't interested in. Oh well, you used to be able to play. Well, that's used to. There's a hot new star on the wherever it is now. You look by. They ain't interested in you no more, but you still need to eat and pay your bills and earn a living and have your life. Money wise, you need to find something else. That's why I notice a lot of these stars tend to do a lot of, if they have good management and so on, they tend to have a lot of these endorsement deals, and they do commercials and they open all these businesses because they know they cannot run around as a 45, 50-year-old plus whatever it is. I keep saying linebacker because I don't really know how your game works, but whatever the position that they were playing, that they were a star athlete at, they can't do that no more because something happened, and that's just a wrap. So they have to find something else. If you can't read, you're gonna suffer.
But people live in the moment, and it's sad, but it's true. People live in the moment, and their moment may be that, you know, Kenneth can run faster than anyone else in elementary school.
Mm,
And he's winning all these ribbons and trophies, and he's the fastest one in the city and one of the
mm.
fastest in the state. And then he goes to middle school, and he continues to be one of the fastest. And he gets to high school, and he's in state, and then the colleges recruit you. All this time, Kenneth has not learned to function in society by reading because he's been
Too
practicing
busy.
and running and
Yeah,
all this. And this happens, it does happen less
yeah,
frequently than it did years ago when I was in high school and
yeah,
in university or college. It really was a problem. There were people
yeah.
that I went to school with, they literally had a problem reading a sentence.
Oh my God. I mean, we've got someone to mention. That's why I wanted to mention it because I was just like, wow, this is really this story, Dexter Manley. I
Hmm.
just was like, wow. It stood out to me when I found out about it. And he went through some real dramas. He couldn't read. He had an abusive family life, and his dad was an absolute nightmare, and he ended up on drugs and all sorts. And I was just like, wow. And this man has been to hell and back. And I just thought, wow, it's amazing. He was a former Washington Redskins NFL player. As I said, I was researching, and I started seeing stories like his, and I thought, no, I have to share that because look where he came from, and look what he went through, and look where he is now. And he's able to talk about it and say, I've been here, and this is what happened to me, and I was on drugs. I remember in the video, we're going to share this link. In the video, he was talking about, oh, I had over $12 million and I lost it. And I'm thinking, how the hell you lose 12 million? He was on drugs, so that was eating through his money, and God knows what else was going on. But I'm thinking, you had all that money and you lost it, and he went from having nothing to being there, and then going back to having nothing. And then he said he met I think his wife was a friend of his, but she kind of stayed away from him. But apparently she had a PhD and all this. And I thought, wow. But she sort of stayed away from him. But when he went to jail for possession of, I think it was cocaine, he started contacting her, and she was writing to him. And that helped him to get back into reading and stuff. And he started answering all her letters and stuff. And then when he came out of jail, they started a relationship, and they got married. So that's a nice, happy ending for him. But unless people are prepared to, put the work in, what's going to happen? They're
Well,
not.
and that story is exactly what I was describing as far as athletes were concerned. He grew up
Yeah.
and he was the biggest and the baddest wherever he went to school when he was younger.
Mm-mm.
And he was able to get a scholarship, and you go to college in the United States. And when you are an athlete in college, you're like a superstar.
Wow.
You have facilities to train in, and they feed you. They give you,
Feed you.
they I mean basically any meal you want. You're housed. All this
Wow.
happens when you are an athlete and you get to the college side of it. And then
Wow.
there's under the table money, depending
Wow.
on how good you are. Some people will shake your hand and have $100 bill in it just so you
Wow.
can keep going. And that's the world that
Oh.
these parents are looking at and
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for.
No wonder they so like intent. Like my son is gonna be a pro, whatever, because or my daughter, depending on what it is. I'm not see now you're telling me this and explaining. I mean, we over here in the UK, we kind of see that type of thing happens, but we didn't realize just how intense
Right.
it can be from as you say, high school. The minute they start to see your potential, they're already looking at you, thinking, okay, this guy can make how much hundred, millions a year from playing whatever it is. That's just crazy.
But I mean, and it does. When you add logic to the equation, it does sound crazy. And I'm not sure how the footballers there are recruited or how people know or have a
Well,
feeling about how
see,
good they are when they're
over
young.
here, yeah, when they're young, what happens? See, because this is what I'm saying. It's not done in conjunction with the education. The education is a separate thing. The people, little Johnny, for example, will get spotted. Maybe if he plays football on a Sunday for his local team, his local football team, then maybe a scout might see him and say, "Oh, you should go and try out for such and such," and I've got the contacts to help you go and try out. So it's a separate thing. They don't encroach on their education to say, "Okay, well, you can miss school, to go and try out for this football club." They don't really do it like that. So he gets, the child gets spotted because they're doing after school, or weekend activities.
Right.
And then if they have to take time off to go wherever it might be, that's different. But it shouldn't really affect their education as much. Does that make sense? Because they're not telling them, okay, well, you don't have to go to English class today because you're going to go to try out for whatever club it's going to be. It's not, they don't constantly keep doing that. It's a separate thing.
And see, for us, those when they get into college, especially, they have practice in the morning at X time. They may practice at certain time. They've got to practice in the afternoon, and they do have study halls and things of that nature. But part of their college experience is playing that sport.
Wow.
And so instead of studying like my son should be doing most of the time, they have 4 or 5 hours of weightlifting or practicing
Woo,
or looking at films and every
woo.
day.
Yeah, okay, I get that you have to be dedicated, but not at the expense of your education. I don't think that people should be, hot housed is probably the best way to say it, at the expense of their education. Because come on, you need to learn to read. Because if that happens to you and you bust your knee or something, it's all over. They ain't interested. Because if you don't recover or you can never play again at the way you were, they're gonna tell you, sorry, next.
And that's another thing that's interesting because again, we're talking about illiteracy today, and so you take that person who was great and he was a superstar, and he got a college scholarship here in the United States, and he was starting at quarterback, and everybody loves him, and it's a $1 billion industry also,
My
which is another
God.
thing. But then he breaks his leg or he rips his knee up. And
Mm.
he can't perform the way he was performing,
Yeah, he's not getting it back.
the university, then you're discarded because
I know.
your dreams and your dreams are gone. But they don't try and make sure that you continue with your education.
Educate, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. At least give them the education so they can at least come out with something. Because see, that's cold. No wonder they can literally go from hero to zero in that sense. Because they had it all. They had the education, but the education was on the premise that they could do the sport. So the sport was the real reason why they got to that college. Then.
Right, right. Whether they were
Oh wow.
running track or whether they were playing football, but the scholarship is a year-to-year basic invitation from the college. And
Oh
so
right.
if that particular athlete is not performing, they can take your scholarship away. Some of them are 4 years, or they tell you they're 4 year scholarships,
Right.
but they'll pull that scholarship if you're not performing, and then you're off the team.
Wow. So it's like a two-horse race. You got to make sure that you riding the horse with the education, and then you're taking advantage of every opportunity available to you with the sports side of it to actually stay where you are and progress to the next level to be able to go and try out for these major football clubs and whatever it might be.
Right. And
That's how
so,
you.
yeah.
Oh
And so
wow.
that's why it's important to do exactly what you mentioned. I'm not saying that you're being logical and it's wrong. I'm saying that you're being logical and people don't think logically. And
Wow.
people should, again, going back to our topic, you
Hmm.
should take great pains to make sure you are able to function in society
Oh, yeah.
by being able to read and understand information, even
Yeah, please.
if it's at the basic levels.
Yeah, oh please, people, don't look at education and think, oh, it's a chore and I can't be doing that. Trust me, when you old and you need to take your medication, when you need to do something and you want to do things for yourself, don't let nobody take advantage of you and be saying, oh, okay, and that's Mrs. So-and-so, she can't read, so I'm just going to go and take her money. No. If you can read, no one can ever take advantage of you because you can read your own stuff and you don't have to rely on nobody to do nothing for you like that because people are nosy. They're reading your correspondence and they could be taking all sorts of information from that.
Well, I'll say one thing though. Unfortunately, even though there are a lot of people that are really literate and that are really smart, but
Yeah.
people still take advantage of
Well,
it.
yeah, but at least it wasn't because they couldn't read.
Exactly. No, I know I knew where you were going, so that's
You know what I
why I said that. But man, some of the most, I'll put it, and some people call it street smart or common
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah,
Man, there are some people that, from a common sense standpoint, they can read a thesaurus and understand every word in it.
Yeah, but
And man, they are
well,
they're like pet rocks to
well,
me.
you're gonna you see now. This is where you get, like you said. I've met some lawyers and so and so. When you look at them, you think, how did you ever become a lawyer? Because they just ain't got. They may be intelligent, but they ain't got no common sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, common sense beats all education. Because if you got common sense, you can survive. Education is fantastic, but if you got common sense and intelligence, then you're gonna always be okay. Because don't get me wrong, the education is fantastic because that's like a barometer of your intelligence, and it shows the world that you're smart. You can do what you need to do. But I've met people who ain't really been to school, and listen, their hustle is strong.
Really strong. Okay.
They ain't never gonna be taken advantage. Yeah, they're never gonna be taken advantage of. Never, because they ain't stupid. They're never gonna be taken advantage of. They're smart. They can get through. They can work things out. They can decide. Okay, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna carry on. You see, sorry people, I'm not trying to digress again. Today's topic: illiteracy in adults. See, there's people who can't read because they haven't been to school, and that's one side of it. Then there's people who may have conditions like dyslexia, which is the next story I want to talk about, because this guy, Andreas Paniatu, okay, he's a multi-millionaire tycoon who could not read, okay, and I don't even think he realized that he had dyslexia. He just knew that reading and writing was really difficult for him. He gets his PA to read all his correspondence. Luckily, he could trust her, and she ain't gonna try no foolishness. Because if he goes down, she goes down. She don't have no job. But he had to get her to read everything for him because he just could not get to grips with reading. And it's only when his daughter was diagnosed with dyslexia that he realized, oh God, that's probably what I've got, and that's why I've always struggled all my life. But this man, right, he has made over £400 million, and he finally admitted it, a couple of years ago, that he couldn't read, and he said it's because he has dyslexia. And I've noticed that certain people with dyslexia can be labelled stupid and slow. And I'm not being funny, 9 times out of 10, it actually turns out that they're really intelligent, highly intelligent, and extremely creative. Because you got to be creative when you're in a corner and you got this issue, you're trying to deal with it. The coping mechanisms you use end up being quite creative, don't you find? Because you have to, because you're trying to think, well, I need to do this, and how I need to make it work for me so that I can get to that point. So you've got to be creative, innit? So
Well, but that's what we talked about earlier. You're basically forced to go above and beyond what other people do.
yeah,
And it creates a drive in you.
yeah.
And that drive causes you really to go above and beyond other people. It causes you to be more successful in
Oh
many
yeah,
times than other
I've
people.
noticed that because a lot of these people, when they're seen, there's another girl I want to talk about as well. She's an actress, Cara Toynton. Everyone in the UK is going to know her. She used to be in EastEnders, one of our soaps, one of our major soaps. And she, oh God, when I saw this documentary on her dyslexia, I had to share it. I had to, because when I watched this documentary, it moved me so much. I remember thinking, wow, you know, that's amazing that you have got this, again, I say disability, I don't like to use that word, but she has this condition that helped her, well, made her have to find ways of reading and coping and doing stuff. And I just remember thinking, wow, you know, it's amazing that she's managed to do that. and it made her really driven and stuff. And I just thought, you know, I can't really cope with some of the things that she's had to go through. I was just like, wow, you know, it's amazing. People, we're going to share the links because